What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of MUT Tips. I'm your host, Sean Taylor from the Made Up Theater, and let's jump into today's topic, status. A lot of cool things go into defining a character. For example, their voice, their movements, their emotions. These are all crucial traits to define a character, but another really big part of a character is their status. Status can oftentimes influence these traits that we try to incorporate into our characters. And we're not always aware of it going on, but it's very much a part of a character's journey and oftentimes can influence their path. So to get into status further, let's use a specific example. How about Disney's Aladdin? Aladdin is a classic rags to riches story that has a lot of ebbs and flows in regards to status. But let's just focus on Aladdin right at the beginning of the film. Aladdin is viewed by society, by the royal guards, by the merchants. Generally, they see him as a low-status character, right? They use the social ranking systems to designate him as a street rat, a peasant. Thus, the guards and the merchants generally treat him with hostility, right? The guards are swinging swords at him, chasing him around town, trying to imprison him. And thus, that's all based on social society rankings. They view him as that low-status character. But Aladdin, he views the guards a little bit differently, right? He views the guards and the merchants as more low status, even though they're high ranking. Like the guards, they're involved with the royal family. The merchants, they have money, they have a business, right? Technically, they are better than Aladdin in social society, right? But Aladdin doesn't see it that way, right? He treats his interactions with them as like a game, right? He tries to outsmart him. He uses his acrobatics to evade them and to steal from them, right? So he views those people as more low status rather than high status. And thus, it impacts how he views himself. Aladdin views himself as like a high status character. He has a lot of swagger, confidence. He goes and hits on the ladies. Hey, he sings in the beginning of the movie as well. And that's how the movie starts, with that very clear distinction that Aladdin has a high view of himself, even though society views him as low. And that creates kind of some drama and character development throughout the movie. Obviously, there are points when Aladdin starts to view himself as just a street rat. You know, his confidence just depletes. And thus it indicates where he's gonna go with the rest of the movie to try to get to that high status level of being Prince Alibaba. So, this is how status oftentimes can dictate where a scene can go. A great way to practice status is to do an improvised scene on stage with two people, give them a location or an activity to play around with, but before the scene starts, person A is going to say, "I feel blank about you," and then person B is gonna say, "I feel blank about you." And have them play to that feeling. Again, status is all about the behavior that you have towards other people. So let that impact their actions in the scenes, their body language, their proximity, their eye contact. And at the end of the scene, maybe talk about how the status went. Another way you can do it is instead, you would start a scene by saying, "I feel blank about myself," and your scene partner would say, "I feel blank about myself," and then jump into a scene. So each exercise practices how we view each other and how we interact with each other, as well as how we feel and express ourselves. And oftentimes, the behavior towards ourselves will carry on to how we treat others and vice versa. So try that out, it's very helpful. And one last really big thing about status is just know, in improvised scenes, nothing is set in stone. Always feel free to change and be affected by the choice you are making as well as the choice your partner's making. Status isn't etched in concrete. It ebbs and flows, as I said. Just like in the story of Aladdin, he goes through a lot of changes, both in the way people view him, how he views others, and how he views himself. It's all constantly evolving. So strive for that, okay? At the end of a scene, sometimes statuses will shift, where it can start here and then end here. Those are fun, exciting scenes, and they're very dynamic too. It would be not a very fun scene if there was a scene with a boss and an employee, and at the end of the scene, it's still just like this. The boss is up here and the employee's down here, but if we can reach a point where it kind of ebbs and flows and maybe it gets to this, boom, that's exciting, that is interesting. And it all comes through behavior that we have towards ourselves and each other, so try it out. Status is an amazing storytelling device in improv. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this episode of MUT Tips. Thank you so much for checking it out. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like down below, or maybe comment with a question or a concept you would like addressed in a future video. I'd love to hear it. Also, subscribe on YouTube, share the video, do all that fun stuff. It really helps grow the channel. Also, I will see you next week for another episode of MUT Tips. I will see you there, everybody. Bye.